no one was going to take away the trees to make the paper, but now it feels like if you don't, and I may be wrong, but I feel sometimes like if I don't not say the right thing, but if I don't evade certain conversations and raise my hand and ask certain questions, that if I do those things, that they could take away the forest, they could take away the paper, the YouTube, the Instagram, they can take away the platform where we basically has become our English language kind of in a lot of ways.
Well, in societies that weren't free, and that would be most societies, the probability that your voice could be taken away was very high because you could just be killed or imprisoned.
Wow.
And I suppose, all things considered, it's better to have your YouTube channel shut down than to be imprisoned or killed, right?
Right.
It is new, I suppose, in that we're dependent on these technology companies, increasingly dependent for our interpersonal communication. I don't feel like the fear that you're describing is unwarranted. I certainly feel the same way about my podcast and YouTube channel. I've had guests on recently where I've been extremely uncomfortable talking about the topics that we've been talking about. And I think reasonably so. You can face deplatforming, or worse, they can just shut you down completely, and it's arbitrary and very, very complicated and costly and hard on you. And then there's the constant probability of being swarmed on social media, which is in some ways a new phenomenon, partly because of the sheer volume of it and the degree of exposure. So there are reasons to tread carefully, that's for sure. And it is quite terrifying, no doubt about it. Have you run into trouble with your podcast?
No, I haven't run into trouble. I think a lot of it for me has just been fear. I had on Robert F. Kennedy, who's a friend of mine, and he's not an anti-vaxxer, but he is a lot more about safe vaccines and making sure that vaccines have been tested properly. And he's an environmentalist, since he was a child. And so it makes sense that he cares about the environment around us and the one that's in our veins, going into our bodies. He's just an overall environmentalist man. But I know his Instagram was taken away for being, I don't know if he was anti-vax, but certainly for like bringing up a lot of topics and questions about vaccinations. So I don't know. I guess I just see it happening sometimes, and so I just get worried. I just get like, I just wonder, has there ever been a time and place in history, but I guess you answered it, that some people used to be killed for saying what they
that was the norm.
Wanted to say.
Right. Free expression that's not common.
But do you worry that we're like kind of cornering any of our freedom of speech or anything, or am I just scared?
Well, I worry enough about it so that it scares me to talk about certain things, and it isn't obvious to me that that's for the best. I don't think your fear is unwarranted. I also think that freedom of speech is sufficiently threatening so that the probability that it will be curtailed is always high. And that we have to, what is it? The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. I think I've got that right. I don't remember who said it. But and then so you might think, well, what should you talk about and what shouldn't you? And I think that depends to a large degree on your conscience. If you're interested in something, you're trying to figure it out. If you thwart that, then you thwart the part of yourself that's interested in things and trying to figure them out. And I can't see that's for the best for anyone. And I do believe that, all things considered, free speech is a lesser evil than constrained speech, because someone has to decide what the content of the speech is going to be. And I don't see that we should give that power over to someone lightly, no matter who they are.